What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to G-Ball Vision. Tonight I have for you guys the second part of most iconic knives, must-have collector knives. We're going to kick it off with the Civivi Elementum, and this is part number 2, so we had a part 1, and to answer some questions in that video, there's certain knives I don't have, guys. You got to keep that in mind. And then number 2, I planned on doing a couple part series with this, so there's just certain knives that you didn't see in 1 that you might not see in 2. It's because they will be in future videos, and you can feel free to let me know what knives you think are in this. I've gotten tons of feedback on this from people, what they consider to be, iconic, and we got a nice list based off what I think and what a lot of you guys have gave me input on as well. So if you have something that you think is iconic, whether you've seen part 1 or not, leave it down in the comments and maybe we can make that happen if I have that knife. So back to the Elementum here. This kind of revolutionized the affordable EDC knife that kind of hit all the marks, right? $50 for this thing. It's still holding strong at $50, which I think is not a bad price for what you're getting here. D2 steel, a very useful drop point blade. Nice swedge going to the tip. That's going to give that tip a lot of added structure. You have some jimping on the spine. Nice micarta scales. They did them in a bunch of different flavors, coated, uncoated, micarta, G10. They came with originally a deep carry steel rollover clip that was reversible. Came with a lot of access and some jimping. Good action on the thing. They nailed, they hit a lot of the marks with this knife. Then they started branching out and doing button locks, premium versions like the S35 here and black micarta. Great little knife for the money as well. But this kind of really sparked and set the race for making affordable knives that are very well rounded, and a lot of companies started the mad dash after this Elementum kind of hit the market. I think it's a must-have in the collection, especially at the price range. So next up we have the knife that kind of revolutionized the button lock phase. And this was the king for many years, the Protek Malibu, and some consider it still to be the king. There are other companies that have caught up to this knife at this point, couple years later. We Knives has done some stuff that's very good. Protek put out the Mordax 2, which I'm sure is very good. I have the version 1, and believe it or not, the V1 came before the Malibu, but this is kind of the one that took everything by storm, and the mad dash started for making a button lock as good as the Malibu, especially when it came to the affordable button lock. They just pumped them out. They're still pumping them out. And I don't think that phase is going anywhere for the people who dislike button locks. I don't think that is a phase at this point. I think that is just something that has been brought into the knife world, and it is not leaving. So they did a bunch of different steels, handle materials. This one's in 20 CV. I've had a couple, and this is the one that I've kept, and then I have the Mordax. So this is the one I kept, 20 CV, stonewashed, blue aluminum. This is the version I always wanted. This is the one I waited and tried to get for well over a year. I ended up getting at least one before this, all blacked out. The Warrenclyffe one. I wanted the sheep's foot one like this with the blue handle, and finally I was able to snag one. This guy will definitely never leave my collection. It's definitely a collection favorite. Next up, we got a crazy one, and I just happened to have this knife, the Duke. This was recommended by a couple of people as a very iconic must-have knife, and it's very affordable. This is not an expensive knife. You can get these pretty much all over the place, but you have this clip point blade that's almost harpoonish in a way. You have this crazy design on the blade, and then you have this steel slab that's been folded over and has the Duke on here. And, you know, history says this knife has killed more people than pretty much anything. I guess, you know, history says this knife, and I guess it's still doing that to this day, from people I've talked to and things I've read, because they're very easy to, you know, hide. They're very thin. It's just a piece of metal with a sharp piece of steel in between it. And it's a simple design, not the most comfortable in hand because it is a steel handle. But I would say definitely a very iconic knife. These are affordable. I grabbed this just because a couple years ago, I saw it and I was like, I might as well pick one up. And I've had it ever since. I did strop it and put kind of a little edge on this, but an iconic knife for sure, and definitely a very unique one. Next up, we got the ZT line of knives, right? ZT used to be the business a couple years back. Now, I don't know. I'm not a ZT fanboy. This is my only ZT, I believe. It is a Hinderer design, the 0562. So this kind of knocks out ZT and Hinderer in a sense. But this is my only one. I'm not a huge ZT fan. But they do have some stuff that's pretty cool. They were really the kings of kind of the tactical phase of USA knives that were semi-affordable. You know, they used premium materials, 20CV, titanium. They did carbon fiber, or they do carbon fiber. They do quite a bit of different stuff. They don't pump out models like they used to. As a matter of fact, they haven't done a whole lot over the last couple of years that's worth noting. This is still probably their most sold model, I would guess, or very close to that. They have some assisted knives, and they have some knives that are very overbuilt, rugged knives. Definitely are known for lock failures across a lot of their different models, dating back years and years. Content I've watched from years ago, ZT knives were having issues then. This is a fairly new 0562 within the last year or two, and this one has the same issues. So it is kind of what it is. They're definitely built to be, they're overbuilt knives that are meant for hard use. This is not meant for, you know, a slicing machine. This is meant to be hard used and kind of abused in a sense. And the lockup issues is definitely irritating when it comes to this knife, especially that it's a known issue and has been for years. That is ZT in a nutshell. Now, I'm trying to keep these interesting. I incorporated some different stuff in the first one, and these are things I believe to be true or things I think will be true in the future. And in the case of the OSER F22, it's not necessarily this knife. It's the mechanism within this knife. The kickstop, that is from Lee Williams. This is an incredible, iconic deployment method. It's the original flipper tab, but the mechanism, it allows you to actuate that flipper tab, and then it actually hides in the spine of the knife, doesn't come forward and bother your grip. And it also, because of the mechanics, it really kicks that blade out, hence the name. And it's just a completely different feeling when it comes to a flipper knife. If you enjoy flippers, if that's your favorite deployment method, a kickstop knife, whether it's a Pena or an OSER or a Chavez, and there are some others, I believe, but you will really enjoy the kickstop. It is incredibly well done. Whether you like to light switch them or push button them, it is incredible what Lee Williams was able to achieve with this. The kickstop, if it's not iconic yet, it will be very soon. Next up, we have the Case Yellowbone Sod Buster. This is the full-size one, and I am no, historical figure when it comes to Case knives. I have a couple. I don't know a ton about Case, but I know that they are an iconic company. They've been around for a very long time. I do own a couple. I don't have a ton of case knives, but this is probably my favorite one. This was a gift from my father-in-law for Christmas a couple years ago, and it is a great size, great blade shape. There's no half stop. It's an all the way, I forget what that's called, but there is no half stop. It just goes from close to open, and it's very smooth and clean, very well done. Love the yellow bone. I don't have very much like this or anything quite like this, so it's unique. It's different than the things that I have, and I think having a case knife in your collection is a must. They're an icon in the knife world, and there's no question about it. This comes from their chrome vanadium line. They have a couple different lines, and that's where this one stems from at least. And you have the nice little small pull there, or the short pull in the center of the blade. Everything is nicely finished on this guy, and these are, for the most part, very affordable, typically around 50 bucks or so, and just an iconic knife, iconic company. It's a must-have. Next up, we have one of the most iconic knife companies that there is, in my opinion. We have the Cold Steel series of knives, guys. I brought out the 10 and the Code 4 for this one. You could include a plethora of Cold Steels, guys. The 8015 could definitely be up here, but the 8010 to me is probably it's the most useful, most iconic Cold Steel, in my opinion, of course, guys. And then I think the Code 4 is a nice trimmed down version of the 8010 in aluminum, still getting S35, still using the triad lock. It's kind of more of a slim down gentleman style 8010. You do get a way better clip on the Code 4. My 8010 will soon be getting a facelift when it comes to the pocket clip and the handles. I'm going to be changing these around, getting some aftermarket stuff for this eventually when I can get them and they're in stock. But these are, without a doubt, you have to have a Cold Steel in the collection. They are some of the most functional knives. Them and Spyderco, they're built for function. They're built to be used. They're built to cut shit, and they're built to last. Cold Steel uses good materials. They're Taiwanese made. I have 5 or 6 in S35. They're all built very well. Strong lockups, come with good edges. Taiwan does a great job on the knives that they produce out of there, especially the Cold Steel line. Cold Steel is definitely a must-have, and if I had to pick one, I would go with the 8010. And like I said, don't forget to go ahead and let me know down in the comments what some of your most iconic knives are that are on your list. Let me know some that you have and believe to be iconic. This is all opinion-based, guys, so let me know what your opinion is. Everyone is definitely welcome to their own opinion here. So we have Victorinox up next, and you don't get a whole lot more iconic than Victorinox. I have a couple of them. A couple of them aren't real accessible at this point. They're either in a vehicle or a bag or a pouch, but the couple I had handy here, this is a newer style Victorinox with A-locks. Love this handle material. Then you have a little bit more of an exclusive, smaller Victorinox right here from SMKW. You can't get much more iconic than this. I think a Victorinox is a must-have, even if it's one of their little keychain offerings, if it's something like the Huntsman or whatever, even bigger. I think something in your collection must have Victorinox on it. You have to. If you're a real, true collector, you're going to have at least a keychain Victorinox or something like that, there's no question about it. And I don't think you could convince many other knife collectors of anything different. Having a Victorinox is going to be a must-have, guys. This is mainly kind of stays here at my desk. My Huntsman goes with me in my sling bag, and this will eventually be my daughter's. She claimed it about a year ago, so it just kind of sits in the case till the day that I'm ready to give this to her. But that'll be her first knife right here, and I do look forward to the day that I get to give that to her, and I know she'll be safe with it. But you got to have a Victorinox, guys. Don't try to tell me anything different. Next up, we got Microtech. A couple people were like, is Microtech at? Where's Microtech at? Well, they were slated for this video, so settle down. But Microtech, being a USA-made company, you know, whatever you want to say about, you know, maybe their heat treat process or whatever, could be ran a little better. So could 95% of every other production company out there. But they are kind of one of the known kings in a lot of people's minds. They are the king of automatics. You know, whether you dislike their switch or not, depending on the model of the knife. You know, this is a regular old Ultratech. This one is an M390. You have the two-tone drop point blade there. And this was my first Microtech right here. The red aluminum scales, the Microtech pocket clip with the date on it. I also own a Tanto two-tone with green aluminum, and that one is in 204p. Then we have the famous LUDT here. They just recently released a new style LUDT. I don't know how much is really different on it, but this one is from 2021. Boy, it has been a little while since I got this. And when's this one from? 6/20/21, and this one's 5/20/21. I think though I got this first, and then I got this not long after. And that is just the date when it was produced, not necessarily the day that I bought it. This one came out this month or was dropped in June, and that's when I got it. I think I got this maybe in July or so, and so these kind of were available somehow. Or maybe I'm tripping. I think maybe this one is the legit one, and this is the one that I got after the fact. So maybe this is my first one. This was my first Microtech. This is the one I bought not long after that to try their OTF, because I always thought the LUDT was a badass. So talking that out, it was actually this one that came out 5/20/21, and I bought it that month on the drop because these were very hard to get at the time. I think they still are. And then I got this after experiencing this guy. This was my second one, and then the Tanto was my third one. That's right. So the LUDT actually came first, and then I think I got this maybe the following month in like June or July. So that is actually more accurate there. That is how that played out. But you got to have a Microtech, guys, you know, whether it's an OTF or an out-the-side auto. Microtech, Protek, two of the USA kings, especially when it comes to their out-the-front autos, out-the-side autos. Definitely a must-have when it comes to a collection. At least one of them. At least one. You got to give me that. Whether it's the OTFs or the out-the-sides. Gotta have a Microtech. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button before you head out. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below the video. I would love to have you here. Otherwise, guys, I will throw up a couple new videos. Go check one of them out, and I will catch you on the next one.